let's talk about sex for a second, because you don't really bring it up in the book, but it's hard not to when you look at the at the figures you talked about. Here's Augustine, absolutely horrified by his boner, absolutely terrified of it, and another mama's boy, by the way, who
Yeah, for
panics about
sure.
his boner.
For sure.
Gandhi obsessed, gotta stop this
Yeah.
obviously natural phenomenon. It's not,
Right.
it's unnatural. I mean, so
Yes.
unnatural. And in fact, of course, Gandhi had, if I mean, we don't know what he, I mean, who knows how he actually mastered the art of never coming, but obviously he didn't, he failed. Maybe
Right.
he did it without volition, but then it
But it would
becomes
be a
this.
crisis whenever it happened, you know. Oh my
Well, yeah,
God.
and Freud would tell him, "You think you're dreaming, but this thing is not a dream at all. This is all you want." And what's impressive about Gandhi is that he experienced all of it first. It's not like he started out as an
Right.
ascetic. Similar with Francis in a way, he was
Hmm.
wealthy, powerful, a scion of a rich family, and then just became this crazy homeless person. But we still talk about Francis. We still talk about Gandhi.
Hmm.
Our entire
Yeah.
culture is based on, and these people were without power. Well, that's paradox. That's a paradox, right?
Right.
And that
Right.
would suggest that Gandhi is right.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, this is, I'd love your thoughts about this because let me say this thing with Socrates. So Socrates accepts death, right? Socrates, his friend comes to whisk him away from prison a few days before the execution. Socrates says, "No, I'm gonna accept, even though it's an unjust imposition of punishment. I am going to not resist." So Gandhi and Martin Luther King have recognized that Socrates is engaged in this form of nonviolent non-cooperation, nonviolent resistance, and in doing that, he unleashes an intellectual force that has transformed Western culture. Right? Plato can never get over that. Plato's whole life and the contribution, which is immeasurable, that he's made to human thought, the motive force, the power, the little dynamo that's driving Plato is this experience he's had with Socrates. He's seeing this, much like Jesus's followers, who see this individual undergo an unjust death, and that generates enough cultural, philosophical, ethical, human power to change a civilization. This question of sex, and I'm curious what you think about it because it's a little bit puzzling to me, but Plato is very antibody. You know, Plato is the kind of the appetites of the body for food, for sex are a huge impediment to what his vision of the philosophic life. And you have to somehow overcome, transcend, master them in some way, rechannel them. Of course, Augustine is celibate, Gandhi is celibate. Freud, I think, has a much more nuanced notion of the necessity of suppressing or containing, repressing certain destructive aspects of that and sublimating them, right? Allowing for some socially constructive, aesthetically nourishing manifestation of those energies. But the thing that puzzles me, or the thing that I find remarkable, is how so many figures from so many different traditions in so many different times have come to see this relationship between the sexual appetite, or it's not just sexual. I think it's tactile, it's bodily, it's erotic, right? It's the erotic energy,
Sensuality.
sensual, right?
Yeah. The body.
The relationship between that and this other form of power and force that in some way is in conflict, in a zero sum economy with this impulse. Just it's quite fascinating.
It's fascinating and it's deeply countercultural. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I would like to say, because I don't share this, and because I think, probably in this sense, more of an Aristotelian than I am
Yeah.
a Platonist, and because I do think that humans are animals at some level, and that nature of us it is a kind of mania to believe we can get rid of that. And what you see in Augustine, I think, also in Socrates to some extent is a sense that that impulse, those profound biological, essentially evolutionary impulses, enslave us. That we
Yeah.
are not that in those moments when we're starving, we have that first bite of food, or we're thirsty and we have that drink of water, or
Yeah.
we're horny and we finally have the orgasm. That in those moments of human need, we are utterly slaves to our
Yeah.
passions, and
Yeah.
therefore we lose the capacity to reason. We may regain it, and we often do,
Hmm.
2 seconds after the orgasm, but we certainly don't have it 2 seconds before.